Hello everyone and welcome to Nakata University. Today, we are going on a fascinating journey. We will explore the long and rich history of Japanese money. Our story begins over 1,300 years ago, a time when Japan was just starting to build a centralized government. Before this period, people in Japan did not use coins for trade. Instead, they used other valuable items. Things like rice, bolts of cloth and salt were their money. This system, called barter, worked for a long time. However, as Japan's society grew more complex, its leaders realized they needed a better, more standardized way to handle payments and collect taxes. They looked to their powerful neighbor, China, for inspiration. This brings us to the year 708. This is a very important year in Japanese history. Empress Genmi, a strong ruler, ordered the creation of Japan's very first official coins. These coins were called the Wadōkaichin. The name itself is fascinating. Wado was the name of the era, which means Japanese copper, and kaichin means something like treasure coin. These first coins were round with a square hole in the middle, a design borrowed directly from the Tang dynasty in China. The hole was not for decoration, it was practical. It allowed people to string many coins together, making them easier to carry and count in large quantities. This was a revolutionary idea for Japan at the time. The creation of the Wadōkaichin was a huge step for Japan. It was more than just introducing money, it was a statement. It showed that Japan was becoming a modern state, with a government strong enough to mint its own currency and control its economy. The government encouraged people to use these new coins everywhere. They even offered rewards, like official titles, to people who saved up and used a lot of Wadōkaichin. This was a clever way to make sure the new currency became popular. The government needed the coins to succeed to fund its projects and pay its officials, creating a new economic foundation for the nation. However, the story of these first coins was not entirely smooth. Over the next 200 years, the government issued 12 different types of coins, known collectively as the Kocho Junisen, or the 12 imperial coins. Unfortunately, with each new issue, the quality of the metal often went down. The government would sometimes mix cheaper metals with the copper to make more coins with less material. People noticed this, and they started to lose trust in the value of the coins. They preferred the older, higher quality coins. By the middle of the 10th century, the government stopped minting coins altogether, and Japan once again found itself without its own official currency for a very long time. So what happened after Japan stopped making its own coins in the 10th century? Did people go back to trading with rice and cloth? Not exactly. The economy had grown too large for that. Instead, Japan entered a long period where it relied almost entirely on money from another country. That country was, once again, China. During this time, trade between Japan and China was booming. Japanese merchants, monks, and officials traveled back and forth, bringing back not just new ideas and goods, but also vast quantities of Chinese coins. These coins were well made, trusted, and available in large amounts. These imported coins, known in Japan as toraisen, became the de facto currency. They were used for everything, from a farmer buying tools to a powerful lord paying his samurai warriors. This reliance on foreign money lasted for nearly 600 years. Imagine that. For centuries, the entire Japanese economy ran on coins minted in a different country. The most common coins came from the Song dynasty in China. They were so widespread that archaeologists today find large hoards of these coins buried all over Japan. This tells us just how deeply integrated they were into daily life, used by people from all walks of life. This situation had both good and bad sides. On one hand, it provided Japan with a stable and reliable currency that fueled economic growth. Trade flourished, and markets and towns grew bigger than ever before. It allowed for a more complex economy to develop without the government having to worry about minting its own money. On the other hand, it meant that Japan's economy was highly dependent on the supply of coins from China. If trade was disrupted, or if China stopped producing as many coins, it could cause serious problems in Japan. There was a constant outflow of Japanese goods, like gold, sulfur, and timber, in exchange for these copper coins. Eventually, people in Japan started to get creative. When the supply of official Chinese coins was not enough, some people began to make their own private copies. These privately minted coins called shichusen were often of lower quality. They looked similar to the Chinese coins but were made with less pure metal and were not as well made. This created a lot of confusion in the market. People had to constantly check their coins to see if they were genuine, high-quality Chinese coins or the less valuable Japanese copies. This chaotic currency situation would set the stage for the next major change in Japan's monetary history during the turbulent Sengoku period. The Sengoku period, or the Warring States period, was a time of great chaos and conflict in Japan. But it was also a time of great economic change. Powerful feudal lords, known as daimyo, began to take control of local gold and silver mines. To fund their armies and manage their growing territories, they started to mint their own coins. This was a major shift. For the first time in centuries, large-scale coin production was happening within Japan again. Instead of just copper, these new coins were made of gold and silver. One of the most famous was the Koshukin, a gold coin minted by the powerful Takeda clan. When Tokugawa Ieyasu finally unified Japan and established the Edo period in the early 1600s, he knew he had to fix the messy currency system. A unified country needed a unified currency. The Tokugawa shogunate established a centralized monetary system that was one of the most sophisticated in the world at the time. This system was known as the Tokugawa trimetallic system. It officially recognized coins made of 3 different metals: gold, silver, and copper. Each metal had its own purpose and was used in different parts of the country and by different social classes. This brought order to the economic chaos of the previous era. Let's look at how this system worked. Gold coins, like the beautiful oval-shaped koban, were the highest denomination. They were primarily used in the eastern part of Japan, especially in the capital city of Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo. These were the currency of the wealthy samurai class and high-value commerce. Silver, on the other hand, was used mainly in the western part of Japan, centered around the merchant city of Osaka. Silver coins were not standardized by shape, they were traded by weight. The most common form was the chogin, an irregular-shaped ingot. Finally, copper coins, like the kani tsuho, were the money of the common people, used for everyday purchases all over the country. This trimetallic system was complex because the exchange rates between gold, silver, and copper were not fixed. They fluctuated based on supply and demand, creating a lively business for money changers. A merchant in Edo might be paid in gold, but if he traveled to Osaka, he would need to exchange it for silver to do business. This complexity, however, allowed the system to be flexible and adapt to regional economic differences. For over 250 years, this system of gold, silver, and copper coins served as the backbone of Japan's economy during a long period of peace and stability under Tokugawa rule. The arrival of Commodore Matthew Perry's black ships in 1853 sent a shockwave through Japan. It marked the end of over 200 years of isolation and forced the country to open its doors to the world. This event exposed the weaknesses of the old Tokugawa system, including its complicated currency. The fluctuating exchange rates between gold, silver, and copper made trade with Western nations, who used standardized currencies, extremely difficult. The leaders of the Meiji Restoration, which began in 1868, knew that to build a modern nation capable of standing alongside the West, they needed to completely overhaul Japan's economy, starting with its money. So, in 1871, the Meiji government made a bold and historic decision. They passed the New Currency Act, which swept away the old system of gold koban, silver chogin, and copper kani tsuho. In its place, they introduced a brand new currency called the yen. The name yen literally means round object, a simple and clear name for a new modern coin. The yen was based on a decimal system, just like the United States dollar and other Western currencies. 1 yen was divided into 100 sen, and 1 sen was divided into 10 rin. This was a radical change from the old, complex system and made calculations much simpler for everyone. To create these new coins, Japan needed modern technology. The government established a state-of-the-art facility, the Japan Mint, in Osaka in 1871. They hired foreign experts, mainly from Great Britain, to bring in steam-powered coining presses and teach Japanese workers how to operate them. The first yen coins were magnificent. They were made of gold and silver and featured new, symbolic designs. The most famous was the large silver 1 yen coin, which had a stunning, intricate dragon on it. This dragon was a powerful symbol of the Japanese emperor and the nation's strength, a message intended for both the Japanese people and the outside world. This new currency system was a cornerstone of Japan's rapid modernization. It facilitated international trade and helped stabilize the domestic economy. The government also introduced Japan's first modern paper banknotes, which were convertible to gold or silver coins. The creation of the yen was more than just a monetary reform. It was a powerful symbol of Japan's ambition. It showed the world that Japan was leaving its feudal past behind and was determined to become a major player on the global stage. The yen, born in the Meiji era, remains Japan's currency to this day, a lasting legacy of this transformative period. The early 20th century was a turbulent time for Japan and really the world. The country was involved in a series of major conflicts, including the Russo-Japanese War, World War I, and eventually the devastating Pacific War, or World War II. These wars had a massive impact on every aspect of life, including the coins people used every day. Wars are, well, incredibly expensive and require vast amounts of strategic materials, especially metals like gold, silver, copper, and nickel. As Japan's military ambitions grew, these precious metals were diverted from coinage to be used for building ships, planes, and weapons. This led to some pretty dramatic changes in the coins circulating in Japan. First, the gold coins disappeared. Japan had been on the gold standard, meaning its currency's value was tied to gold. But to pay for its military expansion, the government needed to hold on to all the gold it could. By the 1930s, gold coins were no longer being made for circulation. Then, silver coins were the next to go. Smaller denomination coins that had been made of silver were replaced with coins made of cheaper metals. The beautiful silver yen of the Meiji era became a distant memory as the country prepared for a larger conflict. Even copper and nickel, which were used for everyday small change coins, became too valuable to be used as money. As World War II intensified, the material shortages became extreme. The government had to get creative to produce coins for daily transactions. They turned to cheaper, non-essential metals. Coins started to be made from aluminum. These aluminum coins were incredibly lightweight, feeling almost unreal compared to the heavier copper and nickel coins that people were used to. As the war dragged on and aluminum was needed for building aircraft, the situation became even more dire. The government introduced coins made of tin and zinc alloys. These coins were poorly made, corroded easily, and had very simple designs, reflecting the desperate times. By the final years of the war, Japan even stopped producing metal coins for some denominations altogether. The situation was so severe that the government began to produce small, stamp-like coins made of clay or porcelain. These were intended to be a temporary emergency currency. Imagine paying for your groceries with a small piece of baked clay. While many of these were produced, they were never officially issued before the war ended. These emergency coins serve as a stark and honestly fascinating reminder of how total war can impact even the most basic elements of a society, like the small change in a person's pocket. After Japan's surrender in 1945, the country was in ruins. The economy had completely collapsed, and the nation faced severe inflation. The money from the war period, both paper notes and the low-quality tin and aluminum coins, was practically worthless. People had lost all faith in the currency. To rebuild the economy and restore public trust, the new government, under the guidance of the Allied occupation forces, knew it had to create a completely new monetary system. The first step was to control the rampant inflation. In 1946, the government introduced the new yen, forcing people to exchange their old banknotes for new ones, which helped stabilize prices. With the economy slowly beginning to recover, it was time to introduce new coins. The first post-war coins appeared in 1948. These were very different from the pre-war and wartime coins. They were made of a brass alloy and featured designs that symbolized Japan's new identity as a peaceful, democratic nation. For example, the new 5-yen coin featured the Diet building, the home of Japan's parliament, a powerful symbol of democracy. These early post-war coins were a sign of hope and a return to normalcy, but the currency system was still a bit messy, with some old coins and notes still in circulation alongside the new ones. The most significant change came in 1953 with a new law that completely reformed the currency system. This law, called the Law Concerning Small Denomination Currency and Fractional Counting, did two important things. First, it demonetized all coins and paper money smaller than 1 yen. This meant that the old sen and rin denominations were officially abolished. From this point on, the yen would be the smallest unit of currency. This simplified the system immensely and reflected the economic reality that these smaller units were no longer practical due to inflation. This law effectively created the foundation of the modern Japanese coin system we know today. Following this 1953 reform, the Ministry of Finance began to issue a new set of coins that would become familiar to everyone in Japan. In 1955, the modern lightweight aluminum 1 yen coin was introduced, along with a new 50 yen coin made of pure nickel that had a hole in the center. The 10 yen bronze coin, with its iconic Byodo in Phoenix Hall design, had already been introduced in 1951 and was confirmed as part of the new system. Over the next decade, the 100 yen silver coin and the modern hold 5 yen coin would also be introduced, completing the set of coins that would serve Japan's booming economy for decades to come. If you open your wallet in Japan today, you will find 6 different coins. These are the modern coins of Japan, and each one has its own unique story and design. Let's take a closer look, starting with the smallest value, The 1 yen coin is made of 100% aluminum, making it incredibly light. In fact, it's so light that it can float on water if you place it carefully. It features a young sapling on the front, which is meant to symbolize the healthy growth of Japan. Because the value of the metal in it is less than 1 yen, it is the only coin that costs less to make than it is worth. Next, we have the 5 yen and 50 yen coins. What makes them special? They both have a hole in the middle. The 5 yen coin is made of brass and is a beautiful golden color. Its design is full of symbolism representing Japan's key industries. The rice stalk stands for agriculture, the water represents fisheries, and the gear around the central hole symbolizes industry. The 50 yen coin is made of a copper-nickel alloy. The front features chrysanthemums, which are a symbol of the Japanese imperial family. The holes in these coins not only make them easy to distinguish by touch, but also save on metal costs. The most common coin you will see is the bronze 10 yen coin. It is probably the most iconic of all Japanese coins. On its front is a beautiful and detailed image of the Phoenix Hall of the Wadōkaichin Temple, a famous UNESCO World Heritage Site located in Uji, near Kyoto. This temple was originally built in the Heian period and is a powerful symbol of Japan's rich cultural heritage. On the back, you will find the number 10, surrounded by evergreen leaves, symbolizing longevity and eternity. This coin has been in circulation with this design for over 70 years, connecting the present day to Japan's post-war recovery. Finally, we have the two highest value coins, the 100 yen and the 500 yen. Both are made of a copper-nickel alloy, giving them a silver color. The 100 yen coin features sakura, or cherry blossoms, on the front. Cherry blossoms are Japan's most beloved flower and a national symbol, representing beauty and the transient nature of life. The 500 yen coin is the newest and largest of the 6. Introduced in 2021, it is a bimetallic coin with advanced anti-counterfeiting features. It has a paulownia flower on the front, a plant associated with the government and good fortune. These 6 coins together form a beautiful and practical currency system. The way Japanese coins are made has changed dramatically over the centuries. In the beginning, with the Wadōkaichin, the process was entirely manual and quite slow. First, skilled workers would create a mother coin by carving the design into a material like wood or stone. This master pattern was then pressed into fine clay or sand to create a mold. These molds were arranged on a tree-like structure, with channels carved out to allow molten metal to flow into each coin cavity. Workers would then heat copper in a furnace until it was liquid and pour it into the mold. Once cooled, the coin tree was broken apart and each coin was snapped off and filed down to smoothen the rough edges. This ancient method, known as casting, was used for hundreds of years. It was effective but had its drawbacks. The coins were often irregular in shape and thickness, and the details of the design could be blurry. As we saw during the medieval period, this also made it easier for private individuals to create forgeries, as the quality of official coins was not always consistent. During the Edo period, minting techniques improved somewhat, especially for the gold koban, which were carefully hammered into their oval shape and stamped with official marks by hand. However, the process was still largely based on manual labor and craftsmanship. Everything changed with the Meiji Restoration. The establishment of the Japan Mint in Osaka in 1871 brought the Industrial Revolution to Japanese coin making. The new mint was equipped with massive steam-powered machines imported from Europe. Instead of casting, the new method was striking. In this process, a blank featureless metal disc, called a plancher, is placed between 2 hard steel dies. These dies have the negative image of the coin's design engraved on them. A powerful press then strikes the plancher with immense force, instantly impressing the design onto both sides of the coin and creating the raised rim at the same time. Today, this process is faster and more precise than ever. The Japan Mint uses fully automated computer-controlled coining presses. Long strips of metal alloy are fed into a machine that punches out thousands of blank planchers per minute. These blanks are then cleaned, polished, and fed into the coining press, which can strike hundreds of coins every minute. The latest 500 yen coin even uses a complex process to combine 2 different metal alloys into one bimetallic coin, adding another layer of security. From a craftsman with a hammer and mold to a technician monitoring a high-speed press, the journey of coin making mirrors Japan's own journey from a feudal society to a global technological leader. The world of Japanese coins is not just about history and economics. It is also filled with rare treasures and fascinating stories that excite collectors. Some coins are valuable not because they are made of gold, but because very few of them were ever made. For example, in certain years, the government produced a much smaller number of a particular coin. Coin collectors, or numismatists, eagerly search for these key date coins. One of the most famous is the 10 yen coin from year 33 of the Showa era, which is 1958. Far fewer were minted that year compared to others, making it a prized possession for any collector of modern Japanese coins. Another area of interest for collectors is error coins. Sometimes, during the high-speed minting process, something goes wrong. A coin might be struck off-center, or it might be struck on a blank intended for a different denomination. One of the most famous error coins is the hold 50 yen coin that is missing its hole. These mistakes are usually caught by quality control at the mint, but a few sometimes slip out into circulation. Finding one of these is like finding a 4-leaf clover. They are incredibly rare and can be worth thousands of times their face value. These little imperfections tell a unique story about the moment of their creation. For those who want to see these treasures for themselves, Japan has several excellent museums dedicated to currency. The Currency Museum of the Bank of Japan in Tokyo is a must-visit. It has an incredible collection that covers the entire history of Japanese money, from the first Wadōkaichin to the latest banknotes. You can see authentic gold koban from the Edo period and learn about the fight against counterfeiting. Another fantastic place is the Japan Mint Museum in Osaka. Here, you can see the actual machines used to make coins, both old and new, and view a stunning display of rare and commemorative coins from Japan and around the world. From the first simple copper coins to the high-tech currency of today, the journey of Japanese coins is a reflection of the nation's own history. Each piece of metal tells a story of political change, economic ambition, wartime struggle, and peaceful prosperity. The Wadōkaichin marked the birth of a centralized state. The yen symbolized Japan's entry into the modern world. The coins in our pockets today represent a peaceful and technologically advanced nation. They are more than just money. They are small, durable pieces of history that connect us to the generations that came before. Thank you for joining me on this journey today.